In 1988, a struggling ex-stockbroker named David Walsh set up a tiny company called Bre-X Minerals in the basement of his Calgary home. Its shares cost about 30 Canadian cents, and hardly anyone noticed them. For 5 years, nothing much happened. Walsh ran out of cash and almost gave up. Then he phoned an old friend, Dutch geologist John Felderhoff, who was working in the jungles of Indonesia. Felderhoff told him about a gold prospect beside the Busang River on the island of Borneo. In March 1993, Walsh scraped together his last $10,000, bought the Busang concession for $80,000, and hired a bold Filipino geologist named Michael de Guzman to drill. By Christmas, the third and fourth drill holes glittered with visible gold. Early estimates spoke of 1 or 2 million ounces, already a big find for a tiny firm. Walsh sold his small Canadian projects, built a remote camp in the steamy forest, and poured every cent into Busang. The numbers soon exploded. In 1995, Bre-X announced about 2.7 million ounces. Analysts began whispering 30 million. Felderhoff teased 45. At the 1996 annual meeting, he shouted, 30 million plus, sending the crowd wild. A few months later, the company doubled its figure to 60 million. Early 1997 brought a boast of 70 million and rumors of a magical 200 million ounce treasure. The stock took off like a rocket. After a 10-for-1 split, the price raced up to roughly 286 Canadian dollars, a 100,000% jump in 3 years. Bre-X was suddenly worth $6 billion. Pension funds, teachers, retirees, and bartenders all piled in. Newspapers called Busang the greatest gold discovery ever. Big banks urged clients to buy more, and anyone who doubted the story was mocked as a fool. But deep inside the Busang camp, the miracle was being faked. Instead of cutting the drill core in half and saving part for outside checks, Bre-X crushed whole sections to powder. That meant no one else could test the rock later. Witnesses later said de Guzman sprinkled the powder with shavings from jewelry and with river gold bought from local miners. Company books showed he spent about $61,000 on this glitter. A convenient fire in January 1997 destroyed racks of stored core. Politics now forced Bre-X to share the prize. Indonesia's Suharto government demanded a local partner, and Bre-X chose the American giant Freeport McMoran. Freeport's geologists arrived early in 1997, drilled twin holes beside Bre-X's richest ones, and found almost no gold. Alarm spread through the camp. On 19 March 1997, Michael de Guzman boarded a helicopter to Busang. Somewhere above the green canopy, he fell, or was pushed, 600 feet to the jungle floor. Searchers found a body 4 days later without hands or feet. Officials called it suicide and cremated the remains at once. Rumors of murder, or of de Guzman escaping with a new passport, still swirl today. 1 week after his death, Freeport announced its bleak test results. Trading in Bre-X shares froze, then plunged from hundreds of dollars to single digits in hours. The company hired Strathcona Mineral Services to rescue its reputation, but on 4 May 1997, Strathcona delivered a hammer blow. The samples had been salted in a systematic way never before seen in mining. Bre-X stock collapsed to pennies and never recovered. Billions of dollars in paper wealth vanished. Many small investors lost their life savings. Walsh had already sold millions in options before the crash. He moved to the Bahamas and died of a brain aneurysm in 1998, so he never faced trial. Felderhoff had sold about $84 million worth of shares. The Ontario Securities Commission charged him with insider trading, but after 8 years in court, he was acquitted for lack of proof. No one else was ever convicted. Bre-X filed for bankruptcy in November 1997. Dozens of lawsuits filled Canadian and U.S. courts, yet only a few cents on the dollar were recovered. The most lasting result was a new Canadian rule in 2001 called National Instrument 43101. From then on, every mining company had to have its public numbers signed by a qualified professional and backed by data that outsiders could test. Today, the jungle has swallowed the drill pads, but the story lives on. A penny stock became a $6 billion star by mixing greed, blind faith, and gold dust bought at the riverbank. One honest drill hole, and a body falling through humid air, brought the dream crashing down. The Bre-X scandal reminds us that if a promise seems too rich to be true, it probably is.